Christopher Spera, and this is the iTechGear Weekly, episode number 78. My tones are not dulseting. Recorded live Sunday, February 18th, 2024, live from iTechGear Central. As I said, this is Christopher Spera, editor-in-chief over at iTechGear.org, and joining us this week in no particular order, the usual suspects minus one, Brother Joel McLaughlin. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well.
Awesome.
Went to the gym this morning, feeling great, and
Sweet.
wearing smaller pants. So
hey,
Cool.
always good. Currently the host of the Linux Sling Tech Show, and of course, living in the Retro Arcade podcast. We have a Retro Arcade this week.
Not yet, and I'm
Not
debating whether I'm going to skip another week because it's been.
I know
tired.
It's been it has been.
Yeah.
It has been. And also joining us, the former co-owner of WUGNET Publications, Dr. Mr. Larry McJunkin. How are you, sir?
Oh, I am fine. Another long week here in Eastern Tennessee, but we're starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel. I kind of hope it's not the light of an oncoming train. That's usually the case.
Yeah, hopefully that light you see at the end of the tunnel is not another train.
Another train. Doing well, other than that.
I totally get that. We are unfortunately without the normally dulcet tones of Mr. Chris Gavula, who is taking the week off, just trying to rest and relax after a long week at work. And we wish him a speedy recovery from the weariness of the world, I think. Don't we?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely, we do.
Oh, but you know what isn't weary, which I thought was, and this is kind of cool. This was kind of cool. Apparently, according to the EU, iMessage isn't big enough to warrant any kind of an antitrust investigation, which I think is very interesting, but also between you and I, quite, I get it, it's not that big of a surprise. So
Nope.
the bigger apps, of course, over there, WhatsApp, well, come on, guys, help me out a little bit here. There's WhatsApp and
Telegram.
I don't use anything else other than, to be very, very honest,
Telegram.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah. I mean, those are big enough to really, or would be if there was something wrong, if they weren't available all the way around, that would be something that would warrant some level of, I guess, a look.
Antitrust investigations, at least by the EU,
right? Or at least something, some level of
that's not
raised eyebrow.
But the thing is, though, that's not to say that can't happen from the U.S. side, because where it is dominant, or another article we got coming up later. Other countries, but
yes. No, I get that. I get that. But I just think it's really interesting to hear and see that, it's not that big of a deal anywhere else really than the US.
Yep.
I mean, other countries are interested in other apps, and it's only really here in the States where iMessage is very dominant.
Well,
I think because we live here, we tend to forget that. We just do.
And well, right. The thing is, though, is what I would be happier with Apple is if they would do what work they need to do with the various companies to make RCS as good as iMessage. I mean,
right.
Apple could very well do that, but they refuse to. So they have no incentive to, I should say.
No, they have no incentive to. And to be very, very honest, I mean, based on the stuff that's been going on with Beeper and Beeper Mini over the last few months, I mean, it's clearly obvious they don't want anybody messing with this core piece of their platform. They don't care to share with anybody else. If you wanna interact with their messaging platform, you may buy an iPhone.
Mm-hmm.
And that or an iDevice.
personally, I don't really understand the allure of iMessage or WhatsApp. I know each to their own and all that, but
Mm-hmm.
the way iMessage works, basically, for those that don't know, it falls back to MMS when it's not going to another iPhone. It's just that
Right.
simple.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I mean, and if a non iDevice enters the
Yeah.
conversation, it lowers the level of security down to the lowest common denominator.
And I don't think it's all that anti-competitive, personally. I really don't.
Well, to be honest, I don't know why anybody's gotten their underwear in a knot over this, but
Mm.
Because that's just what people do.
yeah.
Well, I see the biggest thing is generations younger than us who actually think they place much more importance on the green bubble than we do. You know, we already even I would say if you're sending information you want to remain secure over iMessage,
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't. I just wouldn't. Uh, you know, you you know the
Like
only
to even
person, the only company that you have in the only thing that you know is what Apple says about iMessage being secure. If you believe them, great.
great.
Go ahead, do it.
Mm-hmm.
But quite frankly, I don't trust Apple. I don't trust anyone. So I mean, so it's not me being anti-Apple. I just
Say
don't trust
you
anyone.
wouldn't be a an IT security professional, would you?
Not yet, but
Yeah, maybe
but
someday.
it's like you don't trust anyone
No,
with
I get it.
that kind of data.
For sure.
It's like
Sure. Why would
it's
you?
like
Seriously,
yeah,
why would you? Why
it's
would
it's
you
it's like
even?
when I was putting together the mortgage package for this house I'm sitting in right now.
Mm-hmm.
The mortgage company was like, "Yeah, can just email it to me." I'm like,
Nope.
an application with my social security number on it? I
Nope.
don't think so, Tim.
Mm.
Uh,
Yeah.
it's like people uh that aren't in the industry have they just have no clue
No.
about
And they don't
security,
get it. And they don't get it.
and they don't care.
No, they don't.
So that's the thing. They're like, yeah, sure, I can email it to you. Well, okay. You better hope that no one was scanning your email. Is not a secure protocol, folks.
Right.
But
By
Not even
default.
close.
I would almost argue that people are getting smarter along this vein. Solutions like Proton and those that have
Some
totally
aren't.
secure email, they're starting to make a lot of noise out there.
They are.
But
They are. So
Well, but
more
this
iPhone 16
antitrust thing,
rumors?
do what? Oh, there, yeah,
and
the
speaking
vertical camera later
and
on.
and speaking of iPhone 16 rumors,
Right.
apparently the iPhone 16 series they may change that square camera bump and actually adopt what may be more of a Samsung oriented um style camera away where they've got them all lined up in a row.
This
Or
Um
would
they may
make me
not.
the happiest person on the planet if that
well, to
happened.
tell you the truth, there's a reason for this. There's a distinct reason for this. And from what I understand, according to the articles, and I've cited two here in the show notes. Um, the reason is spatial computing or spatial photography requires camera lenses to be lined up one next to the other.
Oh,
All right.
okay, yeah.
So with the Apple Vision Pro being out there and the iPhone 16, I think is going to be designed to be a direct support instrument for the Vision Pro, where you can go ahead and take pictures or video that will show up as a spatial either photograph or video for the Vision Pro. They have to change that camera array to be vertical as opposed to in that square. So,
It makes sense.
so I don't know if that's really what's going to happen or not. Um, but
I want it for a totally different reason. I just hate the bump. I absolutely hate this current camera bump.
Well,
Don't know why. I just hate it.
It doesn't bother me because no matter what phone I have, I'm not gonna go caseless. That's just the
well,
Well, yeah,
truth.
but look how Pixel
Yeah.
did it. I mean, the Google did it with the Pixel, but when you put the case on, there's no bump. It's so
Yep.
slick.
Yep.
let me just say this. With the Samsung, and we'll get into this a little bit more with the new Samsung S24 series, as well as the S23 series. You've got that vertical camera array, right? And the way that they've got this now, I mean, there's no real boundary or anything for the bump. Everything is just out there big. When you put the S24 series in a case, as I just did, you may have heard the click, um, that case really makes it flat on the back. And the one thing that
Right.
doesn't happen with the iPhone is, I mean, there's always been that bump. It's it's more exaggerated on the Pixel, right? Because they've got that whole bar across the back and it's huge. Um, and it also doesn't
Mm-hmm.
sit flat.
I
If you
think
want to,
Samsung definitely integrates their camera lenses better than anybody.
I agree. I agree.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the like I said, the Pixel's got that, it's got that big major bump or bar on the back. In a case though, you can't tell. The OnePlus Open's got that big, huge um ring on the back, that circle on the back. And it stands out a great deal. And it doesn't lay flat either.
I guess
Um,
you got to look at the 30 and below crowd. They don't use cases. They just put them in their pocket, literally, nearly all of them.
well, maybe they do, maybe they
Not
don't.
sure why, but
I've seen more scratches and more, run. My son, honest to God, my oldest boy, he's our middle child, and God bless him. I have not seen anybody destroy a smartphone with greater ease than him.
he's
Uh,
become a master, huh?
oh my goodness. And I look at this thing and because he gets the every, you see the commercials that are out there now. You can give your child the janky phone and you get the new one.
Mm-hmm.
He never gets a janky phone. All right. Ever, 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 ever. He gets the mint condition phone from his mother and I. All right. Our boys do. They always have, because they've always been either in a case or they've been babied. All right. Or both.
Mm-hmm.
And honest to God, I have no idea how anybody below the age of, what'd you say, Larry, 30 or so,
About,
20,
yeah, 30-ish.
25, 30,
Right, yeah, right.
gets any sort of trade-in benefit from their phone. I mean,
I don't
they're
think they
all
care.
beaten to hell, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I don't
Um,
think they care.
I don't know that they do. All right. Um, it's one of the reasons why um I get such good trade-in values on all of my phones, all of them.
Oh, me
Um,
too.
they're just pristine, and I take care of them all, and I don't. They're
Well,
all
unless it's an
cases.
Android phone.
Well, it depends
But
on the Android
yeah,
phone and what we're trying to do
right.
here, but seriously, all of them are in great shape.
Yep.
It's sad that anyway. Neither here nor there as far as the camera array on the 16 is concerned. But it's interesting. We're citing two articles for this, and uh, to be very very honest, the one over at Mac Rumors is really a great sort of, it's got a nice set of comparative whatevers for um, design and chips, memory, and connectivity, as well as batteries and charging and other features. And they go through most of the major things and show you exactly what's changing or potentially changing or likely to change. Don't know whether or not um, they are going to be accurate, right? But who knows? Who knows? And again, we've been saying it all along. You won't know anything until Tim steps out on the stage and says, "This is the new gadget, and here it is."
Yep.
So yeah. So we'll
Yep.
have to wait and see what's going on. But you know what else? And speaking of Epic,
Ah,
do you know
Good one.
what I thought? I saw this next article out there, and I'm like, well, that's interesting. And isn't it just like Epic to try to go ahead and stick it to Apple? Epic's Fortnite is actually scheduled to return to the iPhone, but only in the EU.
it's gonna come to the Epic Game Store, which they'll be able to
Yep.
install on
Yep.
their EU phones very
Yep.
shortly, as soon as
And
the
that's the only reason why.
17.4. Yep.
Yep.
As soon
And
as
that's the
17.4 comes out,
mm-hmm.
that's what'll happen is they'll release their own app store,
Yep.
and there you go.
Yep.
They don't have to pay Apple nothing. Honestly, yeah, whatever. I mean, do the kids still play Fortnite? I sure
Yes and
don't,
no.
but
I
yeah,
hear some that do, and that maybe now and again they might go back and
right.
tinker with it a little bit, but not really. I've never played Fortnite. Um, but for as much of a gamer as I am, it's not a
Right.
surprise. But
As you're not, but yeah.
yeah, no, I'm
I'm
not.
a gamer, but mostly the older games, so it's like
Mm-hmm.
it's not that this is the opposite of a game that I would like to play, mostly because of the amount that it really depends on how much money you spend in their
Mm-hmm.
DLC stuff. So it's like,
Right.
it's not what I want. That's not what games should be, in my opinion, but it is unfortunately the modern game world. So, oh
The
well.
one thing that bothers me, all right, is, and even with things out there with some of the games, hang on a minute. I'm trying to get to my to a games folder. Even with things like Hero Wars, which is said to be um playable for free without, having a huge in-app uh purchase requirement, or things like Age of Apes or Star Trek Fleet Command or anything. They're all on the in-app purchase pay to play model. All right.
Yep.
And it really bothers me because there's nothing that's out there that I go and I don't want to pay a whole lot for the game. I don't want to pay, $150 for the game.
Mhm.
Or I don't want to pay 60 to 70 or 80 or $90 for the game either. Um, but then I mean, you're constantly nickeling or diming me to death in order to get me to do something with the game.
Yep.
It kills me. Micropayments, I get it. It's not all that much. And hey, you're only spending three,
Yeah.
$4, but I mean, it's all the time, you know?
Mhm. Mhm.
And back to what Joel was talking about earlier, if you mention Super Mario to kids today, they look at you like, what
Who the
are
heck
you
is that?
talking about? Who
Yeah.
is that? They have no
Yep.
idea, do they, Joel?
Nope, they sure don't. Unless you're talking about the latest Super Mario whatever Wonder, I think it is. But yeah, I mean
Well,
it's
yeah,
just
other than that, I meant the
yeah.
old stuff.
But it's yeah. I mean it's nutty. So
You know, pardon me for being an old curmudgeon, but I mean, I like playing
yeah.
games just like anybody else likes playing games. And the mobile gaming market I know it's an area that is still being tapped by a number of different folks. And they're making a whole bunch of money on it. But do we really have to nickel and dime everybody to death?
Nope. I don't think so anyway.
Well, that's where the money is. All you got to
I
do is
know.
look at the front page of the App Store every
Yep.
day, just page after page.
Of pay to play. Yeah, I know.
Yep.
And it kills me. You can seriously go broke and all you're doing and because you're buying things well, they're completely intangible, number one. And
Mm-hmm.
number two, um 9 times out of 10 they don't, the supply of, was it coins or gems or diamonds or whatever the heck it is that I mean, it goes real quick, and
Yep.
it's designed to do that, to
I mean,
constantly
it's so
get you.
bad you could even go broke playing Words with Friends now. I mean, all
I
the
know it.
crap I mean, I play that a lot of
I hear
people,
you.
but
I hear you. It's sad. Sad but true. Sad but true. You know what also is sad but true?
what?
I heard that Apple is suspending its foldables testing after it bumped into display quality issues. Larry, say it isn't so.
Well, you know what? Here's what I will say. You first heard it here. Since the very
Yep.
first foldable smartphones hit the
Yep.
market, at least the current ones where the display
Yep.
itself folds, we on iTechGear Weekly have been pontificating that Apple would never, ever dream of releasing a foldable iPhone unless it had a display that was perfectly smooth, no creases, at least as far as technology would let them go. So,
Yep.
well, guess what, folks? It
They
seems that they haven't quite reached that point, so you're going to have to wait a little bit longer for
Yep.
your foldable iPhone.
Yep. Hate
And
to
this
say I
comes
told you
from,
so, but wah, wah.
yeah, I mean,
Right.
Wah,
granted, it's
wah.
coming from rumors, but trust us, it's going to happen. They're not
Yeah.
going to release it. Apple's been exploring foldable technology for a lot of years as part of their form factor
20,
research department, and
2016, twenty
yeah,
eighteen,
maybe
something like
7 or 8
that,
years now.
It's been
But
for a while.
suppliers
Um,
that supply them say no, it's just not going to happen. They're not happy with the testing.
yeah, they've put plans for a foldable smartphone on hold after display samples failed to meet the
Yep.
company's strict quality standards.
Yep.
And we
And I
have
think,
someone that knows something about quality here.
oh, God knows. Don't get me started. Don't
Yep.
poke that sleeping bear, because I'm telling you. um,
Oh, I think
and
it's just
knowing,
they're not going to rush. They're not going to rush into this market until what they can put out there totally blows away all the
right,
ones that are there now. Then
right,
they'll release it.
absolutely. Does this mean that they will not come out with
Oh,
a
no,
foldable
I don't
phone?
think so.
No,
Sure, they
it
will.
does not. I think what they are looking for is an improvement in whatever outer shell is over the top of that display, so it's not as gummy and as
Yep.
not as gummy, not as stiff or brittle, but something that flexes well and won't crack after, hundreds of thousands of
It
fold.
literally has to be perfect, or Apple's just not going to release it. I mean,
Well,
if you bought a foldable iPhone and there was at all a crease in it, people would freak.
well,
I mean,
You,
it's
you
just
know
not
what?
going to happen.
I'm going to go out on a limb here. I'm probably wrong, but I'm still going to say this because I can just see Apple doing this.
what's
You know
that?
how the Duo is with the two physical
Yep,
separated screens.
yep,
I think that someday Apple will come up with a technology that lets two micro thin pieces of metal be against each other with the glass right up against each other, and that will be a fold like
like
that.
a
They'll
pixel wide, right? A pixel wide,
yeah, like 1 pixel wide, but you look at it, your eyes don't see that,
right,
but yet it'll never ever crease because it's separate.
right.
That's
And
just
Hmm.
what
and
I
you
think
may
they're
be
waiting
and you
on.
may be right. Um, I may be crazy, but I'm ching. Um, they said though that they've been having some issues with screens cracking. It A foldable is not planned until at least 2024 or 2025 at the earliest.
Earliest,
All
right?
right, at the earliest, and it also appears that Apple's in no rush for this, like you said, right? And it could even take longer than 2025 before they release something. But they are more than interested still in a foldable iPad. All right, which could
Which makes
involve,
more sense.
well, it could involve a thicker design, which is more suitable to the stress of folding that display in half. All right. So, I mean, for a clamshell iPhone, or even a landscape folding iPhone, where it's in not that doesn't fold on the clamshell, but folds the other way. I mean,
Like,
they
yeah,
want
like
the
the
crease
fold.
to they want the crease on the phone to be super super thin. All right, number one, so that you can't see. There's no light coming through the two screens on top of each other. All right, they sit flush when they're folded closed. Number one, and number two, they want to make certain that there is no crack or any sort of um, display related issues with the actual display over time. Right,
Right.
so they're waiting. All right. And then there may be, like you said, something with a foldable iPhone later
Yeah,
on.
I don't think the masses are quite ready to all buy in on what's there now. I, for the first time, actually got to play with the newest Fold, the Samsung, the
Yep.
other day at Best Buy. And as bad and as old as my eyes are, I can see that fold and I can damn sure feel it. So
Oh,
there's a lot
sure.
of people that will not buy that. They're not going to
Sure.
spend two
I f-
grand to have that.
yeah,
You know,
Apple fans will not. I mean, that's just
Nope.
not
no,
them.
no.
Or
You're right,
nope.
Joe.
When
They
looking at
won't.
the Samsung Fold, I can guarantee you can clearly see the crease on the phone. All right. There is a definite divot from one screen to the next. All
Yep.
right. Um, and it's very easy to see um, when the screen is actually on and displaying content. The one that's come closest, at least in my opinion, to not having this particular issue is the One Plus Open. All right. But then again, you guys know what happened to mine. So
Right.
so earlier this week, Chris G had sent me a couple of videos, and I've watched um most of one, but I haven't seen the second one yet, where it shows, there are definite production related issues and quality problems with the One Plus Open. There's at least one of the authors of the particular videos that I was watching says, don't buy the phone. Don't buy the phone because it's got display related quality problems.
Yep.
So what I can tell you is as always is your mileage may vary. Chris G has his and it is doing well. Mine, after coming back from repair, is doing well. I love it. I carry it with me every day. You can not you can't see the fold. It's very difficult. You can, all right, but you've really got to angle. There's got to be um, a light a light refraction directly on the um the crease in order to be able to see it. So that light bulb that you've got in the ceiling
So
or
if you
from a
look
lamp,
at it straight on, you're not actually seeing a color difference or anything like
without
that.
any reflection coming off the screen,
Right.
or coming hitting the screen, and then you can see a reflection of light. No, you cannot see the crease. You really can't. All right. And it's absolutely amazing that you cannot see the crease. Um, it's an amazing, amazing device. Um, so the fact that it has got this level of technology built into it as far as the display is concerned, it is at this point in um, production of foldables is an amazing thing. That's why I said if Apple was really curious, they'd go and they'd look at this one, because this is the one that employing that kind of crease technology is probably where they should start, and then improve upon that, because
Don't you
this
think
is
they've
amazing.
reverse engineered everything out there by now?
I don't probably possibly, but don't know.
I would think.
Possibly, but don't know. I mean, to be very honest, um, if Chris or I hadn't um um mentioned these, would either of you have known about any of
No,
these?
no. I would
No.
never have known about them.
See, and that's what I'm saying. I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't necessarily know. Wouldn't be surprised. But anyway, so no foldable iPhones in our
Nope, nope,
immediate
nope.
future, which is sad. Sad
Put
but
your
true.
money back in the box and save
And
it
leave it
for
there.
a next time.
Yep. Yep. Stick it in that high yield savings account and just let it collect interest because
There you go.
help it pay for more device at a later time.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to go ahead though, and I want to move us to our mobile Linux segment at this point. And I want to kick it off by going ahead and talking about the unboxing that I did of the Samsung S24 Ultra. This unboxing is currently on the site. Published this on the 15th, so about 3 days ago as of this recording. Um, and it is a really, really nice device. Um, as far as changes between the S24 and the S23, you could toss it in the air. Um, it's got 4 more gigabytes of RAM than the S23 Ultra. It's got the newer Snapdragon 8 processor. It's got a Gen 3 as opposed to a Mobile 2. All right. Got the same level cellular radio. There's some slight differences in the camera array on the back of the device. But again, this is all, like I said earlier, this is all lined up in a row vertically. It's got a 200 megapixel camera, a 12 megapixel ultra wide. It's got a 10 megapixel 3x zoom telephoto lens. All right. And I don't know if that's a digital zoom or if it's an optical zoom. They do say optical zoom on the S23 specs, but not on the S24 specs. And then there's a 50 megapixel 5x telephoto zoom on the X20 on the S24, but then on the S23 is a 10 megapixel 10x optical zoom camera. So there's a little bit of differences, and I'm guessing that these are digital zooms and not opticals. So yeah. But to be very, very honest, aside from um the slight performance changes that I mentioned, it's got the same size battery, 5,000 milliamps, um, since the S22. Same level of battery size. Um, there are some slight changes in the cameras, as I mentioned, as well as the f-stops for the cameras. Um, they've basically got the same kind of displays. They're all 6.8 inch dynamic AMOLED 2X displays. All right. The big difference here is the Galaxy AI that they've built into this device and into the S24 series. Um, it comes with a couple of things, and I've used the circle to search, and it's interesting. If you see something and you don't know what to call it, you don't know what it is, you double tap the home button. It sort of freezes everything out. You draw a circle around the thing, and then it does a visual search on that thing and presents you with a bunch of links, which I think is kind of cool. Is it in and of itself, the reason why you should move?
But if it doesn't say AI on the box somewhere, people aren't going to buy it in
That's
today's
true.
times. There's just not.
That's true. And it does. Some of the things that I thought was interesting is that it will do it is the universal translator kind of sort of thing, where you can speak English into this thing and it will text or call somebody, um, and they will either hear your voice, then you say it in English, and then they get a translation in another voice, um, uh, uh, your choice of gender, your choice of sound, that gives the person a translation, or there's delays in between, slight delays in between the two people talking, and you only hear the translations in English or in your native language, rather. All right. So I can speak English, you can speak Klingon, doesn't, whatever. If as long as there's a way for it to translate, I'll hear your voice or a voice come back with translated from Klingon to English, and you'll hear my another voice that's supposed to be me but isn't, come back in translated English to Klingon. All right.
Have you had a chance to compare the processor in the 24, the what Snapdragon 8, isn't it?
It's a
Yeah,
Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 as
yeah,
opposed
but
to a
it's
Gen
called
2.
okay, yeah, but it's an 8 still, I think. Just a different gen. Have you had a chance to compare that to the one they're now putting and have sort of dumbed down the basic 24? The
No, I have not.
I don't even
No, I
remember
have
what the
not.
name
And
of
I
it
would need to
is.
go to a Best Buy or to a phone
Oh,
store.
the Exynos. Yeah.
Yeah, to see, the differences between the two. So, but if you're looking, so unfortunately the template for the site cut off most of the S22 based um, information. But I do include a link there to the actual table in in the article, or brief write up that I did about this. If you have an S23 and you're looking, should I upgrade? I would probably say no. All right, unless you've got to have the latest greatest thing. The screen is a little flatter. It's not as rounded. There is a definite edge. The titanium casing in the S24 Ultra is, I think, a much better titanium wrapping than the iPhone 15 series, which comes in titanium.
Having
Um,
held them, I agree with that. Yep.
yeah. I've held and I've got both, and so it's a sweet looking device. The S Pen works just like you would think the S Pen works. It will magnetically hold itself to the back of the device, provided that you have the device naked. All right. And um, don't have it in any kind of a case. Otherwise, the stylus is just going to fall. This magnetic pull for that is not that strong to work through a case. But it will hold uh, by itself. Anyway, nice, nice little, nice upgrade. All right. Is it enough to jump from the S23 to the S24? No, I don't think so. And in some cases, while you may get a little bit more machine in terms of processor and available RAM, from a camera perspective, depending on how important those zooming functions are, um, you're going to see some differences in the quality of
But
pictures.
looking at our demographics, our listeners here, the average person, I just read this the other day, changes smartphones every 3 years.
Yeah.
That's unheard of if you're a geek at our level, isn't
Oh,
it?
absolutely, absolutely. There are some folks I know. Uh,
No, 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 surely not.
there are some folks that I know that jump phones, every 6 or so months. You know, there's some
Mm,
folks on this show that jump to new phones. Oh, shall we say, when the mood strikes them,
often,
Yeah.
often.
often.
Um, but for the normal person, 3 to 5 years, I think would probably be, where you are. The 22 is still a decent device, though I will tell you that from a camera perspective, man, the camera specs from S22 to S23 are a noticeable jump, and the camera for the S23 Ultra is a really nice camera. All right. Not to say
Yeah.
that the S22 isn't, but it's a lot better on the S23 and above. So for whatever it's worth, I would seriously, if you're on an S23, I would say don't bother. The only thing that you're really going to get the benefit of is the Galaxy AI. And I don't know if that's going to be something that you really want to ditch a phone for um, and jump into.
Unless you're just into it.
Sure. Sure. But again, it's not true AI. It doesn't learn. It's not
Right.
intelligent. It's smart, but it's not intelligent if you get what I'm saying. The 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 uh, the assistant that's there, the AI assistant, benefits from a large language model, so it can scan through different meanings of jargon or dialect or whatever's and probably give you what you're looking for. But it doesn't learn and um, it doesn't think on its own, so it's not a true AI. All right. It's still the large language model that's out there that they've been talking to, but um
Well, it's still a pretty phone. I did look at it briefly, and it's nice.
right. No, but from an AI perspective, you get circle to search, live translate, voice calls and text messages. It's got note assist, which will summarize text into clear, easy to review outlines. It'll do like the Grammarly thing and give you a take through on that. And then it will do some AI powered photo editing. So, but other than that, there really isn't much to compel an upgrade from the 23 series to the 24 series. So, for whatever it's worth. And like I said, I've got the unboxing that's out there. If you haven't seen it, take a look. It's a nifty little phone. Um, it's just about the same size, shape, color, weight, feel, taste as the S23, other than the AI that's out there. So for whatever it's worth. Um, and now we're gonna go ahead. We've got one more story, and then we're gonna go ahead and take a quick little break. But this is Joel. This is the story that you were alluding to earlier in our Apple segment.
Yep.
About Apple supporting RCS to comply with um, Chinese, of all things, Chinese regulations. So what's up
Yep.
with this?
Well, that's what they're saying. Maybe this is the impetus behind the EU announcement, possibly. I don't know. But they unexpectedly announced a few months ago that iOS would support rich communication services universal profile in 2024. Now, we don't know whether that's going to come in 17.4, if that's going to come in iOS 18 months later. But requirement for this comes from China's Ministry of Industry and Information Technology, solicited feedback for upcoming rules about strengthening end network collaboration to support large scale development of 5G messaging. At the time, some speculated this could result in Apple adopting RCS. So,
Which
what at
they
my
are
end,
going to do, right?
right?
They're
That's what
still
they're.
going to do the RCS thing,
Yep.
right?
Yep. So
Even
I mean,
though,
maybe what in our comments on the previous story, maybe Apple actually is starting to work on trying to make RCS better. I don't know. It's I think it's a little early because we until we see it, till it actually
yeah,
hits iPhones, we won't
yeah,
really know. But I think it's a good idea. Like I said, I'm all for standards. And yeah, a de facto standard like Apple kind of has here in the United States with iMessage, considering how many iPhones there are here
hmm
in the United States. It's a de facto standard in many ways, and de facto standards are not standards still. So, I mean, what do you think about that?
de facto or
So,
not.
right.
Yeah,
It's like when year after year after year, Windows is the standard. That's the one everyone has to support. That's the one everyone uses. But now you
right.
got Mac OS starting to come into it. and Linux as well, with Chrome OS being Linux based.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, the Linux desktop as I know it, and as
Right.
Chris knows it, is not Chrome OS. So, but still, it's you know standards are important, and same thing goes with phones. So I mean, RCS is starting to become a standard nation, not just in our nation, but in other nations as well. So
So it's
it
starting
only
to be
makes
global.
sense. Yeah, it only makes sense for Apple
Right.
to support it. Which Apple will do. If they want
Sure.
to sell their phones in those certain countries like China.
Sure.
So,
And give them
Sure.
credit for that.
Right.
yep,
Now I know that some people wanted, as far as read receipts, typing indicators, and some other kinds of things. The
yep,
color of the bubbles be damned for a moment, but
right,
RCS will allow for typing indicators and read receipts. All right, it'll
yep,
do high res photos and videos, and it has better controls for joining or leaving group conversations and messaging over mobile data or Wi-Fi. So Google has committed to working with Apple on implementing RCS, and I know that RCS is supported in Google Messages.
it is.
Um, um, but how far Apple is willing to go on the implementation of RCS and whether or not
Right.
it's going to change colors of the
Well,
bubble.
and also considering they're doing this to comply with the Chinese regulation, will it actually have E2EE or end-to-end encryption? That jury's out on
That's a
that. We don't really know.
that's a good question because you're absolutely positively right. We do.
Because let's
Um,
face it, China's not about that, not for their citizens, you
no,
know. So
no,
they want to know
they.
everything you do. But
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And but that's part of the culture, right? The government has always been the ruling government has always been
I
very
would say that's more of the government culture, not the culture.
well. They're
correct.
used
Yes.
they're used to that level of oversight. We've never
Yeah.
had it. We've never
Nope.
had that kind of oversight.
And probably never will. But yeah.
And
Hopefully.
you know, there are some shows that are out there now that take the current political climate to a dystopian degree, and it's very easy to see like that something like that might happen. That dystopian sort of nth degree,
Hmm.
you know. But it is in fact interesting that they may actually be doing this to comply with Chinese-based regulations. They'll never admit to that.
Right.
All right. But I wouldn't doubt it. So,
Hmm.
but anyway, that's the mobile and Linux segment. And I want to stop right now, and we will be back after this brief message. Hi, this is Christopher Spera with iTechGear.org, and I'm here to tell you that iTechGear.org and the iTechGear Weekly are on Patreon. Patreon is a platform for creators, allowing them to express their creative side in an organized, marketable fashion and earn a living or create a really cool kind of side hustle. You can create a community around your hobby of choice. You can gain followers. You can get members and supporters all along the way. You can create subscription products that, for a pledged amount every month, you'll provide to your members and followers. Setup is easy, prices are reasonable, and you can have your pledges auto deposited into an account of your choice every month. With iTechGear.org, our initial offering is a monthly newsletter for just $3 a month. This is our initial offering, and we'll have other tiers and other products and other offers up in the coming months. Become a patron of our site. Grow with us, and we'll provide you with the tech understanding that you're missing right now. Join us on Patreon. at www.patreon.com/iTechGear. That's www.patreon.com/iTechGear. And welcome back to the iTechGear Weekly, episode number 78. My tones are not dulceting. All right. And I want to go ahead and move us into our Windows segment right now. There's actually, we've got a little bit of activity here in our Windows segment this week. It's a little bit longer than it normally is. And I think that's good. And I think it's kind of cool. But speaking of a fifth moment, apparently, Larry, Apple has got this new fifth moment coming soon.
I don't think Apple does, but
Or I'm sorry,
Microsoft might.
Microsoft. Did I say Apple? I did.
It's okay. A
Microsoft. I
Freudian
apologize.
slip.
Yes,
Not a problem.
but
You have too
Apple's got
much
a fifth moment.
technology in that head of yours. So,
Yeah.
usually I'm with the rest of us when the moments come bounding down the road from Microsoft. I get my little meh ready, but actually, there's a couple of the five that are interesting, and actually, all of them are interesting. But first of all, I think for our listeners who don't know what a Microsoft moment is, the short explanation is we know we all get security patches and bug fixes and the routine Windows updates that you occasionally see in Windows. But new features typically don't drop until the annual fall release of the new annual Windows build. And we're currently on 23H2 for 23. We'll be getting 23H2 in the fall, and 22H2 was in 2022, and so forth. But a Windows moment usually consists of a few little tidbit features, thus far nothing earth-shattering, that Microsoft wants to bestow upon us slightly before the new version is released to keep everybody interested, I think is the only good reason. There's no other really good reason. So as such, this current fifth moment release will be available to Windows users of 22H2 and 23H2, Windows 10 and 11, sometime within the next 12 days, according to Microsoft.
Yeah, they're saying that it's supposed to come out February 27th.
Oh, it is. Okay, cool. I didn't know the exact date, but the actual drop will be a little smaller in scope than the previous one. And this time, I think they're trying to focus on the necessary changes to their operating system to make it compliant with the Digital Markets Act. It's not that important that we know what the Digital Markets Act is, but I find it interesting that both Apple, following all the EU crap, and both all three big players following the Digital Markets Act. It's funny that such little, seemingly small things are making these big technology giants shift what they really would like to do. But let me just take a quick moment to kind of gloss over these five moments, because you might find one of them, I don't know, interesting.
Okay.
First of all, the ability, and I think this first one, Chris, you're going to love. It's the ability to ink directly into text boxes across the entire operating system.
Yes.
For those of you who use that slim pen, now you're going to be able to use it anywhere on a touch screen, any machine, period.
Right.
Not just your Surface.
Doesn't matter where, if you've got pen in hand and you're working with an application and there isn't necessarily, you don't have to bring up a ink to text
just
panel
put the
anymore.
pen to screen and it will work.
Yes, you can ink
That's pretty
directly
cool, really.
into text boxes, directly into a text box. It'll read your handwriting and OCI that ink right into text.
This next one is probably my favorite, and I know if Chris Gavula was here tonight, he would be doing a happy dance. I know.
Yeah.
It's Microsoft is going to make even more uninstallable to the user some of their apps like Edge, Cortana, Camera, Photos, blah, 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 a few others. And that means for the first time ever, the Edge browser will be totally uninstallable if it's something you don't want to use. Now, keep that in mind, though, because later on in the show, we're going to talk about something that might not go along with that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
uh, the third thing on sort of the same line, Microsoft is also making the search pane interoperable. So now it means that search providers like Google, Yahoo, and DuckDuckGo, and all these folks, they can build a plugin for the Windows search pane that will let Windows users switch from Bing to another search provider.
Oh,
This is
can I get an
another bit of
amen?
latitude I think is a great
Mhm.
deal for users.
Oh, can I
It
get an
is.
amen? Please.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, really, think about it.
Amen.
I mean,
Yes.
here we go. The things like the European Economic Area and all of that,
Yep.
they're really having an impact on us, the user. Fourth thing would be that Microsoft is making some changes to the already incredibly handy, the nearby share feature, which is kind of like Apple's AirDrop, but it's for Windows
Yes.
PCs. But
Kind of
they're
cool.
going to add a nearby share friendly name. So you can say Bob's laptop, you want to share it to Jimmy's laptop or whatever. If it's in the
Sure.
share menu, you can rename it with a friendly name. And that's kind of
Sure.
cool. You don't
If
have
it's
to,
there, you can share. There you go.
yeah, you don't have to use that machine name that the machine has.
Sure.
And last, there are some minor changes to the casting menu and quick settings. These don't bother me a bit because I don't use them, but I guess if you do a lot of casting, it'll now better describe the feature to any users who've never used casting before and don't know what this is. So it'll be
Sure.
easier for them to begin casting. Other than that, I don't know. I thought they were actually better than some of the previous moments that did nothing for me.
Yeah, these moments really sort of tighten
There's a
up,
couple of those that are really cool.
right? They sort of tighten up and make um the current version of Windows um that much better, that much easier to use, a little bit more stable, but also a little bit more logical. Type,
Right.
text, ink to text in a text box.
I,
That
I
is
would have
freaking
never
awesome.
ever thought I'd see another search engine plugin in the Windows taskbar search box ever,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
it's there. It'll be there.
which is kind of cool.
That's
So,
it. That's all
yeah.
I got.
Well, that's all right. That's all right. So look out for that coming, like Larry said, within the next 12 days or so. I thought I had seen where the according to the Windows Central article that we are citing in the show notes, um, Moment 5 is only going to be offered to users running Windows 11 23H2 and version 22H2. So all active Windows 11 users will get that update.
And that's not a bad thing.
No,
Folks, if you're on something before that, get out of the past and update, period.
right. If you're a consumer and you're still running Windows 10 or a earlier version than 22H2 of Windows 11, y'all need to upgrade. Come on, the water's fine now. All right,
That's right.
it's
It
all right.
is.
Y'all can go ahead and jump on in without screwing up your machine. Um, so uh, the next version of Windows, which is supposed to be, like you said, Larry, Windows 11 24H2, is expected to launch later this year and probably sometime after October, after the
Mm.
middle of October is
Yeah,
when I,
that would be the one we talked about last week, I
yeah,
think. It used to be possibly Windows 12, but not.
right, not anymore. Right. So, um, and speaking of Windows and hacking, Joel,
Uh-huh.
uh-huh.
Yes.
All right. What's going on with the latest Windows Defender Zero Day? Um,
Well, there was a 0 day and it's now patched as of February 13th,
okay.
2024. They patched a Windows Defender Smart Screen 0 day exploited in the wild by a
Mm-hmm.
financially motivated threat group to deploy the DarkMe remote access Trojan. A hacking group tracked as Water Hydra and Dark Casino was spotted using the 0 day in attacks on New Year's Eve day by Trend Micro security researchers. And it says an authenticated attacker could send a target a specifically crafted file designed to bypass displayed security checks. They said it in the advisory today, but it says, however, the attacker would have no way to force the user to view the attacker controlled content. Instead, the attacker would have to convince them to take action by clicking on the file link. Trend Micro security researcher Peter Gernus, credited for reporting the 0-day, revealed that the flaw bypasses another Defender smart screen vulnerability. That one was patched in November of 2023 on Patch Tuesday.
Okay. So you still got to go ahead and jump into the white van, if you will, to go to help to get the candy or to help look for the puppy.
Basically,
you still got to jump in the white van. Right?
If you're using common sense, you shouldn't be clicking on these links anyway. So,
if you do not recognize the person that you've received some sort of a file or link from, thou shalt not click. Don't do it.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
Yep.
Just
and
like
Nancy
said,
this particular attack was being used to target financial market traders too.
Yeah.
So that's a big deal. That can change the values of currencies worldwide. So that's fortunately, hey, it's been updated. So patch your systems, folks, if you haven't already.
Right, and that means for those that are really on the Windows side, and if you haven't physically run Windows Update recently, go run Windows Update and install and run it until it installs everything successfully. Yep. All right. Let it do its thing. Let it restart. Go back after it restarts and check it again until you see nothing there that it needs or wants to install. All right.
You bring up that. Just let me interject for a second, because that is something a lot of folks don't know. And I'm not sure a lot of smarter, geekier people don't really know either. A lot of times you can run a Windows update and you'll get one update and it'll just stop.
Right.
But if you click the update button again, it'll bring in another one or maybe two. You really do need to do what Chris just said. You need to hit that thing a couple times and make sure you're updated.
Completely right. Yep. Windows Update. There are some updates that are out there that are prerequisite updates for additional updates. You've got to have A before you get B. All right. Yep. You have to have A and B before you can get C. All right. So Windows users, if you're out there, now's the time. Go to Windows Update, run Windows Update as many times as is required before you see Windows Update tell you that your system is up to date. And at that point, y'all can go ahead and just stop.
True.
I would, if you haven't run Windows Update manually in a while, it's probably something that you want to go ahead and do right after you finish listening to the show.
Mm-hmm.
So, but again, that's just me. So yeah, update them if you got them. So, and Larry, this next thing was something that you had alluded to just a little bit earlier when we were talking about Microsoft's fifth moment. You can't use the new Outlook without Microsoft Edge.
Okay, here we go. It does appear that what Microsoft giveth, as I stated earlier, by allowing users to completely uninstall their Edge browser as part of that Moment 5,
right,
they have taken away if you plan to use the new Outlook app. This is the kind of stuff that makes me want to just reach out to Redmond and wring somebody's neck.
This is so
I
stupid.
mean, we all here on this show get so fired up about every little time Microsoft does this. Apparently, or at least until the user hue and cry gets loud enough in Redmond, Microsoft is going to make you uninstall Edge. They're going to make it a mandatory requirement for running their new Microsoft Outlook app in Windows 11 and 10. Right. So if you try to use the new Outlook app what you're going to get is an error message pop up that says the new Outlook app leverages Microsoft Edge WebView 2 for various web functions. And for those of you who care what WebView 2 is, it's just a fancy way to insert XML and CSS, and just some different stuff into the browser. As such, users will need to have Edge installed on their devices, or they won't be able to access all of Outlook's web-based features, which is pretty much a lot of them.
Right. Now, you
So,
don't have to have it as your default browser.
no,
You
you
just
just
got to
have
be
to,
on the machine so it can use
you
that
know,
code or that programming
in
that
other
is
words, you
in that
got all
browser.
happy when you could take it off with Moment 5. Now you got to bring it back on board and
Right.
reinstall it so you can use this. So I've asked the following questions far too many times in my past. But
Yep.
Microsoft, what in the hell were you thinking? I don't care what you call this. It's just another ploy to get people to use Edge instead of their favorite browser. That's all it is. The
Right.
purported reasons are for this are not at all necessary. They're contrived. I don't care what they say. Period.
Right. So, and just for some folks who may not know what the new Outlook is,
Oh yeah, go ahead.
the new Outlook would be what some of us moldy oldies would consider to be a modernized version of Outlook Express. It is a um, new version. It's going to replace calendar and mail in Windows 11. All right, as the default system email client. It'll no longer be Windows Mail. It'll end up being the new Outlook. All right. Um, and it's supposed to be a lot simpler and a lot easier to use, a lot faster, et cetera, et cetera.
On the
Those
surface, I like this because I deal
you like the
daily
new
and
Outlook.
weekly
You like the new
with
Outlook.
hundreds and even over 1,000 older, newbie users or unseasoned Microsoft
Hmm.
Windows veterans, if you will. And a lot of times we'll go to a call, or one of our staff will go to a call, technicians, and they got a 10-year-old Windows machine running their email on Outlook, and they don't have the tech wherewithal to even turn that machine on and off.
Right.
This will make their life so much better. It really will.
Right. And so the new Outlook is not a bad thing. It is actually
No, I don't think
there's a lot
so.
of folks that are out there like us, pundits or technologists that really are anticipating the new Outlook to be a game changer from a OS based mail client perspective. All right. This is going to be a lot
Outlook
nicer than
Express
mail and
was a good
calendar.
product.
Yeah. No, I've seen it. I've played with it myself. I know you have. Joel, have you
Yep.
tried it yet?
No.
Okay.
I think, Joe, you'll like it. I really
I
do.
do. I think so too. So we'll see what happens, but you've got to have Edge installed. So if you don't
Uh-huh.
have it installed, or if you pulled it out and you want to try the new Outlook, you're going to have to put it back on. So there you
Hmm.
go. And speaking of features that you may want to go ahead and pull out, I saw this week and I thought this was pretty cool. We're citing an article here from Windows Central on 14 features that you should disable on um, Windows 11 right now. And some of these are um, things that are just going to go ahead and clean up the interface, make it a lot easier to use. I'm just going to run through some of these, not all of them, but some of these. Clear up start menu notifications. Um, they are those things that are related to your account in your user profile menu. If you're not using OneDrive to back up your files, or if you're not or to your Microsoft account, um, it'll have some missing information. These notifications are enabled by default, but you can always turn them off. Turn them off. All right, and the system will be a little bit quicker. You can kill the search on the taskbar. Don't have to have that search box there anymore. You can get rid of it and hide it. Um, Change your taskbar from center aligned to put it back to the left, which is really the older, I think, more uh, globally recognized place for the Windows Start menu in the left corner as opposed to center. Within the center, it kind of reminds me a little bit of Mac
Mac,
OS,
Mac
right?
OS, yeah, the
All
dock.
right. I think that was one of the reasons why they did it. But if you're a true Windows fanatic, or if you're wanting to stay pure and true to your Windows roots, move it on over to the left like everybody else does. That's fine. All right. You don't lose any functionality by having it in the center. You can get rid of news feeds and the widgets. You can get rid of additional annoying notifications. Um, turn off Microsoft targeted ads, um, and a whole bunch of other things. All right.
Startup apps, that's a big one. They
Yeah.
really, really slow your machine down, a lot
Yeah.
of them.
But this is a really nice article, and if you haven't um, tried this or haven't looked at some of these, go ahead, take a look, give them a shot. They've got it's a nice little how-to sort of setup. Scroll through, figure out which ones you want to turn off, and then there are step-by-step instructions with screenshots there to help you figure it all out.
Yeah, they've done a good job with that.
Yeah, they did. Um, so again, if you're interested in what some of these are, go take a look. Man, if you don't like Copilot and you want to get rid of it, here's the instructions. There you go. Bam. All right. Um, you should be aware that you will or may be required to open up regedit, which is the Windows registry editor. Don't go poking around anywhere else other than where they are instructing you to go and doing what they instruct you to do, because toying around with the Windows registry is not for the faint of heart if you don't know what you're doing.
Set a
Just make
restore
certain,
point first.
yeah, look at these things first and see if you're going to be comfortable in doing some of these things. But yeah, this is an overall pretty cool article, and I'm really glad that I found it for this week. So good stuff. And that, kids, is basically the show. I want to go ahead, though, and move us to our pick of the week segment. But before we get there, again, I just want to remind everybody that our picks are really just, they're hardware, they're software, they're other items of interest that we have normally individually purchased and actually use, or at least that we find compelling enough that we want to recommend them to you, our growing listener base. These aren't paid advertisements or anything for which we have any kind of affiliated marketing relationship with. If they were editorial policy at iTechGear.org, ugh, the dentures are slipping. Are, say that we really have to go ahead and notify you of that up front before we actually make the pick. These really are things that we believe in and that we want to bring them to you, our growing listener base, at the end of each show. Why?
Because we like you.
Because we like you.
Absolutely. And this week, I want to go ahead and I want to point out something. I'm a phone junkie. I admit it. Hi, my name is Chris, and I'm a cell phone junkie. I'm a tech junkie. I am.
Even more than me.
Yeah, and that's saying
Mhm.
something. So, and I was poking around Amazon just for grins and giggles, because I'll go there and I'll just look around for things. Depending on what's popped up in a search that I've done somewhere else, someone else, or just pop up to Amazon, just start poking around. If I see something, I'll click on it and go, ooh. This one was one of those where I was just kind of up there looking around, wanting to. One of my boys asked me to buy something for them for school, and I was up looking there around, and I found um, a Motorola Razr 2019. Now, this is the Android phone Razr in foldable in the classic Razr form factor, but it is the 2019 version. It's the original version. And this one is locked to Verizon. So if you're on a Verizon SIM or eSIM and you want to move to this thing, you know, at $163,
This is cool. It really
this is
is.
not bad for 163 bucks.
How's the crease area on that? By now?
It's noticeable. You can feel the divot. All right. So please don't think that you're not gonna. You are.
Well, you could feel it when it was new, though, on that
Yeah,
one.
you could. All right. I'm telling you, but this model is really it is one of the original foldables, and it's in the Motorola Razr Classic design and style. And for 162 something or other and change, man, I'm telling you, not a bad idea, or not a bad deal, even if it is locked to Verizon. If you're interested for 160, 164, $165, man, this is not bad, you know, and even I might have been tempted a couple times. It's been sitting in a cart for God knows how long, and I haven't pulled the trigger. I'm not gonna, but I mean, for $165, it's almost a no-brainer.
They only have one left according to Amazon right now.
Yeah, and it is Amazon renewed. All right, it is a
And
refurbished
by the
phone.
way, Amazon does a really good job on refurbs.
They
They
do.
really
Yeah.
do.
They do. So if you're looking for something a little bit new, just something to play around with, and you're in between phone contracts, or if you can't buy a new phone, but you're looking for this is an older phone. It is 5 years old as of this year, 2024. But it's still a decent phone, and for $165, why not?
This is one of those form factors that's never lost its luster. Everybody loves the look of this thing.
It's true. It's true.
Mhm.
It's
It's
a
kind of like
little
the old Motorola StarTAC
Yeah.
years ago. We
Yeah.
all loved that.
Yep. And they've got some really nice belt based cases for this that you might be able to, to go ahead and jump out on. It is a nifty sort of thing. It only uses 4G. It doesn't do 5G. All right. So if you're looking to get 5G speeds on this, it's not going to happen. All right. So it comes with a 128 gigabyte versus storage, 6 gigabytes of RAM. Um, it has a 2510 milliamp hour battery, weighs about half a pound, and currently carrying 3.2 stars out of 5. Not too bad. So, but that, kids, is the show. This has been the iTechGear Weekly, episode number 78. My tones are not dulceting. And they're not dulceting because Chris Gavula is absent. Chris, if you're listening in, boy, we wish you'd go ahead and start feeling better soon, and that you're with us as quickly as possible, hopefully next week. But for Dr. Mr. Larry McJunkin, Brother Joe McLaughlin, and our ailing Mr. Chris Gavula, I just want to say we will see you next time.